Welcome to the GLC Podcast. We're back. Gonna take a little trip here. We got a roundtable discussion. A little bit different format than normal. We got a couple of guests with us tonight. And as always, joined by my partner, Dirty Ewok75. So, as I said, we got a couple of guests tonight. We're going to be discussing topics when it comes to sim racing, and from Project Cars leagues, we are joined by XR Junior, who's well known in the GLC and sometimes disliked because he's always so much faster than everybody. And then, of course, representing Forza, we have Superior Rain, who's become quite the adversary from what I'm hearing. He got his wheel. Hello. And he's become quite the racer, especially on F1 when he does that one. So welcome to the GLC Podcast, gentlemen.
Thank you for having us.
So
I want to know who doesn't like Junior. I want to know.
Coughlin. He's always telling Junior to go away. But anyway, like I said, we have a discussion here when it comes to sim racing. Something that was brought up to me. Somebody had asked me a question, or sent me a message, really, because they wanted to know how I felt when it came to contact in sim racing. Now, of course, contact in a video game simulated racing is much different than contact in a real life situation when it comes to racing. So, I mean, I gave the normal, you want to avoid, you want to be respectable to other people, blah, 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 blah answer, I didn't exactly give my absolute, how I exactly feel about everything, but it was just a general response. But it sparked an interest in me and wanting to get a conversation going. So that's why I wanted to have more people than just me and Ewok discussing this. And the first topic I want to bring up is, of course, with the contact. What is your personal opinion as far as making contact in simulated racing? And I'm going to start with Junior because, of course, Junior is the more experienced and faster driver out there. So, Junior, when it comes to contact, what is your feeling about the whole thing?
I'd have to say it really depends on the level of contact. First off, I mean, if you're side by side with someone through a twisty section of track and you bang doors, it's one of those things that's going to happen. No one's intentionally trying to cause damage or anything along those lines. If somebody takes someone off the track, say, so someone hits another driver from behind and forces that driver off the track, or outbrakes himself, makes a mess and hits another driver, something should be done about that. That's not really acceptable to ruin someone else's race. Yeah,
you never accept running somebody off the road.
No, I mean, a tap. If you could just give someone a little nerf out the way. If you're stuck behind a back marker, for instance, you get it in NASCAR or short track racing. People will just give a little bump to make some space.
The ever popular bump and run.
Exactly, yeah. But it really depends on the level of contact, I'd have to say.
Yeah. Now, of course, going over to Forza, where damage and contact, and to be honest with you, the control over the vehicles is completely different when it comes to between Forza and Project Cars. The question now goes to you, Superior. What is your feeling?
Sure. I think you make some good points that Forza is, we can turn the damage off. In the season that we've been running at GLC, we've been doing just fuel and tires. So actual damage to the cars is not necessarily a problem. But as you said, it's a little bit harder to get that fine-grained control, especially if you're using the gamepad. And so even if you're just going side by side, like Junior was talking about, it's a little too easy sometimes you just want to nudge somebody or your doors are bumping or something, and it's just a little bit too forceful and somebody ends up off the track. And I think all the more so if you're coming up behind somebody else and you're just trying to give them a little, get out of the way nudge on the rear end. It's difficult to do that accurately in Forza. So I think the respectful and maybe sensible thing to do is just to avoid doing it at all.
Yeah. I found it to be more difficult in Forza myself. I've done it successfully myself, but my biggest problem when it came to Forza, when it came to saying like knocking doors or little bump and runs, the problem I saw with Forza the most was it's almost like the cars are rubber coated and they just bounce and bounce and bounce.
That's a good way of putting it. Sure.
It's I don't know. It's just too easy to send somebody off track. Your project cars, you can sit there and rub bumpers all night long. The most you're going to do is slow your car down from damage. But how about you, Ewok? What is your opinion when it comes to this topic?
For me, there's a fine line. It's a fine line between fighting for space on track or making space on track. And if you're one of these drivers who's going to, deliberately gives you a nudge to make space for yourself, then you're putting, the other driver's race at risk, including yours. And then it's a case of, that's not what sort of game race is about. The vehicle you're driving is a big one. Obviously, if you're going to run an open wheeler, then it's definitely a no-go. But I think a little bit of contact is, for me, it's healthy. It's within reason. And, you can only gauge it by the contact at that time. That's the best way I can see it, to be honest with you. I don't think anyone's going to go, you can't have zero contact, because you can't control the outcome of a race. There is going to be contact at some point during that race, especially when everyone bunches up and, you get the first corner madness.
Oh, always the first corner madness.
That's pretty much where I'm at with that, yeah. Yeah, sometimes it's madder than others.
Something I would actually point out is sim racing, we're in a party with each other, and we can let backmarkers know that we're there, that the bump and run or nudging a backmarker out of the way is usually done in real life racing when
or public lobbies
is holding up.
Yeah.
Because you're in public lobbies, the last thing you want to do is talk to some of those mouth breathers.
Well, but when we're hosting when we're in our league races, we can actually let the guys know. So those instances of contact wouldn't be appropriate.
Exactly, and
I think it's good.
Well, go ahead, Ewok.
I was just saying, it's good because we do the private lobbies. Obviously, it's not like real racing and stuff, but I think it does allow drivers or even train sort of less experienced drivers to be more aware of the surroundings because of the communication that we do. I think that's an important thing that comes up with some sim racing sometimes, because some sim racing games there is no chat between racers.
Yes, and that brings up a very good point, and an unpaid advertisement I will give to the Crew Chief app when it comes to Project Cars is that's a very helpful thing to have if you do things like public lobbies. And of course, like most people, you're not going to be in a public chat because it's Xbox. Public chat just doesn't work half the time. Doesn't matter what game you're playing. In-game chat just sucks. So when you're in that type of a situation, that app, which of course does cost money. I think it's like $5 here in the States. I'm not sure how much it is over there in the UK. I think it's like £5 or £6. But that's a very helpful app because you get a crew chief and a spotter telling you when there's cars beside you and so forth, how slow you are, whether you got a car coming up behind you, and da-da-da-da. So, I mean, that's a very, very good tool to have if you're somebody who likes to race public lobbies, but you don't want to be in public chats. Unfortunately, Forza does not have that type of a system. So you're stuck when it comes to public lobbies on Forza, and you just do the best you can or go into the public chats. Now, when we talk about, making that contact and, being respectful and side-by-side racing, you get a whole nother aspect when you're coming up in that situation with people are going to defend, and a lot of defending really, I think there's some people that get annoyed with defenders. It's a group of people within sim racing. I mean, if you go into real sim racing situations, they're not gonna say anything. It seems to be more in situations like we have within the GLC. It's just for fun racing, nothing too serious. We tend to get a lot of people upset at defenders, and I'm curious
Well, see,
as why
I'm a
that is.
defender. I'm a defender. I think the person I probably defend most against, or have in the past, even before I was pushing over on Project Cars, is Coffee. Me and Coffee have had some very long battles, lap after lap, where I'll just shut the race line down to stop him getting past me. And rather than take the risky, off race line overtake, he'll stick to the race line. But it's a question of what's acceptable and what's not. If you're going to go down the straight, you got a guy coming up behind you, and you deliberately, weave in front of him, then that's a big no-no. That's just, you're being silly. But I don't think there's anything wrong with, closing the door on the race line. I think that makes it more interesting, and that's when you get, cars bumper to bumper, and you get that little sort of nudging going on, which I think is healthy.
I'd say it depends on the situation, and the level of the driver's pace involved. I mean, I'm not being funny, but if I say we're doing a 30-lap race and we're on lap 5, and for whatever reason, I catch a driver who's running a few seconds lap slower than me, and they decide to start defending on lap 5, I'd find that pretty infuriating. Personally,
Yeah,
but sooner or later they are going to.
But the defending has a place, and it's not at the beginning of a race.
Well,
yeah, exactly. So
no.
if it's coming up to the closing laps, I expect it 100%. If we've got 5 or less laps to go, then yeah, I totally expect a driver to defend, but not early on. So the situation plays a big role in defending etiquette, if you will.
Yeah,
the position you're in as well. That plays a massive part. You know what I mean?
And you mean like front of the pack versus middle or back?
Yeah, I mean, I think, don't defend at the start of a race. That's madness. But you can get to the halfway point. If you're at pace with a driver, the two of you are sort of pretty equal. You can go lap after lap, defending against somebody. But me personally, I find when I'm in that defensive zone, the pressure's on the ones defending. Because all it takes is one slight mistake, the person who's chasing you's got you.
Well, that's what I try and do. I try to force the mistake on the defender.
Yeah, because the pressure's on the defender. Because they and when you start defending, you put yourself under that pressure. You can make it easy and just go, I'll let them pass. But if they're not fast enough to pass you, but they're fast enough to catch you, which again is a fine line. That makes good footage. That makes good highlights. And generally, after a race when you've had close racing like that, everyone's hyped. I mean, me, Kev, I think it was Coughlin, and who else? What was it on F1?
You're thinking of Monza?
Yeah, Monza.
Yeah, I
in
think
the
it
rain
was
on
that
F1.
Inlaid Minotaur was the other guy there, I think.
And there was 4 of us literally nose to tail for about 3 or 4 laps in the rain.
Yeah.
And it was epic, absolutely epic. But sooner or later, a few laps later, everyone kind of sort of splayed out, and it took its own course. The pressure got to me.
Yeah, I finally slipped on a curb in the rain, and they both went past, and I think later something else. Ewok and Minotaur separated.
Yeah, generally what I'll do, it seems to be the best strategy when it comes to defenders is I'll try and get my nose on the inside of them, right at their rear quarter panel. I just try and get up there, and let them know that I'm there, and then I'll try and outbrake them, and I'll get them to try and outbrake me, and I'll push it right to the absolute limit I know I can break, and hopefully they're going to overshoot.
So it's a rear quarter panel, Gally. Rear quarter panel.
Yeah.
Actually, making noting that down there.
I can't believe you don't know what a rear quarter panel is, Ewok.
No, I was just taking notes.
That's what
mate, you know
Google is
what I mean?
for.
So just the next time Gary's behind me. The only rear quarter panel I see is when cars lap me, so you know.
You take the rear quarter panel off your car, he won't have anywhere to pass you at.
That's good. Yeah, I never thought of that.
There you
Then
go.
it becomes an open wheeler, but there's no contact. Nice.
There you go.
Nice.
Then you can lose your wheel.
I'm just gonna scribble those notes. That's no fenders. Okay. Yeah.
Now, of course, when we start talking about the contact, then the defending, at what point does you're coming in? You're coming into those last couple of laps. What is your opinion when it comes to, defending at all cost? There's downright. They're going to defend you, and they're going to force you to either hit them or any of that. But they're going to stop at nothing to stop you from. Does that upset you, or do you find that as part of the game?
I don't think there's any such thing as at all cost. If you're going to go at all cost, then you're not racing fair.
Yeah, I was just going to say, there's
it's
legal
clean,
defending
yeah.
and there's illegal defending.
Yeah, it's clean racing throughout. Last week, me and MGT on Indies ended up losing a wheel on the very last lap, and that was me and Matt going lap for lap. We both went in the pits at the same time. I came out, and between me and Matt, we were defending. It was literally like ping pong. He was in front, I was in front. But it wasn't at all costs, and I think any driver on any game that chooses to go at all costs, you kind of lose respect for the people you're gaming with and driving with, and it has to be fair. It has to be fair to you, and it has to be fair to the people around you, for everyone to enjoy it. If you're going to be overly aggressive defending and cause somebody to spin out, then maybe it's not the game for you. That's the way I'd see it.
Yeah, I agree. I think. Sorry, go ahead, Kelly.
No. I was just chuckling.
Yeah, no, I think.
He does all right.
Yeah, I agree with Ewok. I think if it's the last couple of laps, you're trying hard to hold on to your position, and there's nothing wrong with that. And to be fair, every once in a while, you try too hard without meaning to, and then something happens, and it's disappointing, but not necessarily something to be super upset about. But if you're talking about somebody who's going to, one of those people who's like, either I'm going to keep this position or I'm going to take us both out of the race, because I'm not going to give this up, then that's silly, and that's not good. It's certainly not nice to the other person or respectful to the other person. It's not really good for you. You don't gain anything from that.
Especially with the new games that are going to be coming out that rate you for that stuff.
Right. Yeah. And so I think my feeling is there's if I'm defending or something, of course I will do my best to hold on to my spot. But if the other person is just a better driver and they're getting by me, then that's the way it is. That's the whole point of a racing game, is you're finding out who's a better racer.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's the same as when it comes to the contacts. There's a line that you cross.
Mm-hmm.
So if somebody is defending legally, they're covering the inside, entering corners, they're slowing down the apex and getting off the corners, and there's nothing you can do, and they're defending legally, there's nothing you can do. If they're making contact, if they're forcing you off the track, crossing that line defending, then okay, use your bumper. If they're going to cross the line, you cross the line also. That's, and the problem that you've got if you're the lead car is you can't cross the line. You can't be the one to cross the line because the car behind really has the power, because they could just put their bumper against you, entering. If you're covering the inside of the corner and you've been overly aggressive, the car behind could just not brake just a little bit, push you wide, and they've got past. So you're playing with fire, being that lead car, being overly aggressive with the defending. You can't cross the line.
I think defending is probably one of the hardest things when it comes to racing. I think defending's a hell of a lot harder than attacking. And it's about being clever, I think. I know some of the races I've had about Coughlin, I've been very clever in what I've done. I mean, you mentioned about slowing down in apexes. Yeah, I've done it with Coughlin. I've slowed down in apex.
That was going to be my next thing to go into is the brake checking. People who purposely brake check in corners.
I don't brake check. No,
Yeah.
I will. I know.
brake
I know
checkings.
I know Coughlin will brake late. I know he brakes late. I know I brake before him. So, because if he's behind me, or if somebody else is behind me that runs like him, I know a few of you brake really late. You're forced to slow down, but before you're more comfortable with it. But that's what I do, and then I obviously pull away and get a little bit of a gap. But by the next corner, they're on me again.
I'll give you a perfect example of it, of the brake checking I'm talking about. And we used to, in the beginning, we had a member who started out as co-owner and all this other stuff, who went by the gamer tag of I'm on Xbox too much. And he had a strategy when it came to racing, is he would purposely, when somebody was directly behind him going into a turn on the apex, he would purposely hit his brakes to force that person to hit his brakes or wipe him out and ram him. So to force them to hit their brakes and then get a quicker shoot out of the corner while they're sitting there going, holy shit, he only hit his brakes. That's what I'm talking about when it comes to brake checking.
That's smart defending. I wouldn't call it brake checking.
Well, that's what it is. It's brake checking, but
method,
I'm not saying it's a bad thing, but
if someone's defending the inside of the track, if somebody's driven down the complete inside of the track, entering a turn, the natural thing for the driver trying to pass to do is to go wide and try and get a cutback. So you take a wide entry and you can carry speed and you have a good chance of getting the inside for the next corner. Now, by slowing down to the apex, you're effectively blocking their run. And it's smart driving. I wouldn't, if that's what you're describing, if somebody just slams on the brakes in the middle of the corner, again, that sounds a bit over the top the way you describing it as brake checking sounds over the top, but slowing your car down to an apex is smart defensive strategy. It's taught for people to do.
There's two different sides down there. There's defensive braking and there's just being a dick.
That's the line.
I mean, if you're like, in a part of the track where you don't need to be braking, you can, and someone's braking just for the sake of braking, then they are being a dick.
I don't think that's what Gally means.
No.
I know what you're talking about, Junior. The example I was giving was a guy being a dick. He did it on purpose to screw them up. He'd do that stuff on purpose. It had nothing to do with defending or stuff like that. He'd just do it to get a laugh and fuck you up.
Who's laughing now?
Okay. Well, then use your bumper. Use your bumper. That's what I say. If that's what you're doing.
I think he's renamed himself not on Xbox so much.
But it's just like I said, there's a lot of aspects when it comes to these things, and it seems to always be the biggest topics when it comes to organizing, whether it be private get-togethers or out there. I mean, there you get guys on public lobbies. I mean, if you're somebody who enjoys running public lobbies, more power to you. They're a good place to learn offensive driving. Most definitely, you can absolutely learn some very good offensive driving skills when it comes to public lobbies, because it doesn't matter what game you're playing. There's just going to be those dicks out there that want to ram you just because that's what they want to do, and they're not out there to race. They're out there to purposely screw everybody else up.
I think there's a small percentage out there they just don't know how to race. Do you know what I mean? Because all they do is public lobbies. So they've never been in a private lobby. They've never been in a situation where they've got a community like the GLC, that shows them how to race and says, this is how we do it.
Okay,
This is how
well,
we do that.
if you're in a
So I think,
public lobby and you've got a guy who doesn't know that he's supposed to use his brakes to go around a corner, that means you're not intelligent enough to even be on the freaking video game. That's my opinion.
I think it's, Ewoks is a small percentage who don't know how to race. I think it's probably not as small a percentage as that. There's a certain amount of, you don't know what you don't know. I'm saying this as somebody who just started playing sim racing games a little over a year ago, and it was totally new to me when I started.
Mm-hmm.
And you're saying, well, if you don't know to use the brakes to turn, but then there's some turns where you need a lot of brake, there's some turns where you need a little brake, and there's some turns where you don't need the brake. Maybe you lift off or you go flat out. And if you're not used to the courses or you're not used to the car, it's easy to mistake which is which. And the resulting behavior can look like you're just trying to cause trouble in a lobby, but really you're not sure what you're doing. And you're right, having some place like GLC where you can talk to people and they can give you tips or help you improve your racing is a huge plus. But if I had just stayed in the public lobbies or something, maybe I would never have been able to improve in that regard because it's harder to learn what you're doing wrong.
Yeah. Well, yeah. And you're right. There are that small percentage, but there is that percentage of people that are just out there to be a dick.
Sure. Absolutely.
Yeah. You can't deny that.
To me, I think it all comes back to driver capability. Some people are complete naturals to it. Some people aren't. Some people just need a little guiding hand. And the reason I say that is I'm going to use Kev Spear Arena as an example here on F1. Mm-hmm. Kev was always behind me on F1. And I was quite happy the fact that he was always behind me on F1. He spent an hour. We were getting ready for Singapore, I think it was.
Yeah, I think so.
And Kev spent an hour with another GLC member called Parch Monk. After that hour, Kev changed. His whole style of driving changed. And it was as if someone just flicked a switch. He became a completely different driver. The driver who would back off and be polite and let people past. That guy retired. And a new Kev came in. More aggressive, confident.
Still respectable.
Faster. Yeah, still respectable. Faster. I mean, we're talking like, I think Monk promised you about 2 seconds a lap, didn't he?
Yeah, at least.
And you got that. You got at least 2 seconds a lap.
Yeah.
Yeah, at least. And it applied to every track after that. You passed me, I couldn't catch you. I was like, who's this guy?
And that goes to the credit of Superior Rain learning the techniques, but also in his equipment, because he had switched from pad to a steering wheel, and now because you're the most recent person, Superior, you were racing alongside people like me and Junior and Ewok when we had wheels.
Sure.
You have to admit it's a whole nother ball game when you finally do get a steering wheel set up, correct?
It is different. The thing I noticed right away, and I want to say first of all, there's definitely a learning curve to getting a wheel.
Yes.
Because it is a completely different way of making the inputs to drive the car. But I think the thing that I noticed immediately, and in some ways it helped make me a better driver right away, is there were things I could get away with on the control pad that I could not get away with on the wheel, especially laying the power down too early out of a turn. Because I think with the wheel, it kind of, the gamepad, it vibrates a little bit and, maybe you get some understeer, but then you're okay. And on the wheel, it was much more, I would start putting the power down too early and the wheel would just pull itself right out of my hands. And I had to learn to stop doing that. Mm-hmm. So certainly that was part of it. But I absolutely, I owe a lot to Parched Monk also for tutoring me a little bit in how to navigate the track.
But it makes it a much more enjoyable experience though now with the steering wheel.
I like the wheel. Yeah. I like the wheel.
I mean, to be honest with you, if you're somebody who's going to get involved in sim racing, you have to at some point get into a steering wheel. You can't sit there and have a career in sim racing on a gamepad. I mean, unless you're going to be an arcade racer,
Yeah. may be true. I want to say that I'm very glad that I spent that time with the gamepad first because it was more inviting. If I had started with the wheel, uh, because there are so many settings to consider, and there are because it's such an unfamiliar way of playing a video game, there were a lot of things where I had to figure out how to get what I wanted out of the wheel. And if I had just started with the wheel, I would never have known what I wanted in the first place. But because I had that time with the pad, I could say, well, the car is, doing this or not doing that, or I expect to have this out of the wheel and it's not happening. Why not? And if I had just started on the wheel, I wouldn't have been able to navigate any of that.
Yeah, see, me, I was
You guys,
completely different. It was
Oh,
either
yeah.
I had to get a wheel or I was just going to quit sim racing altogether because,
Mhm.
yeah, I could do the Need for Speed stuff and all that's, Horizon and, basically arcade racing. With a gamepad, that's fine. But when it came to actual racing and circuit racing and simulated racing, I couldn't do it. It was not there.
Mhm.
I was Brooksy, plain and simple, when it came to a gamepad. So it was either I had to make that decision to either I was going to spend the money on a wheel and try and get better, or just give it up because I was just aggravating myself too much.
Mhm.
do you agree that the big difference between wheel racing and pad racing for me is wheel racing is a commitment, whereas pad racing I would say isn't, because with wheel racing, real wheel racers, for those that aren't thinking of getting it, for me it's a commitment because you have to work at it. There's so many different aspects to wheel racing.
I don't know.
Because
I
you've got the
think
pedals as well.
I'd
I
say it's more of
think
a respectable
that
hobby when you actually get a wheel.
I think there's more work involved with the wheel,
Yeah, but
especially if you're really going to get into the feedback settings and your setups and things like that. I think.
mm,
Yeah,
if you want to talk about
maybe.
it that way, then yeah, I could agree. It's more of a commitment to
Yeah,
learning,
it.
and tuning becomes more of an important aspect when it comes to a wheel.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
that's what I'd add. You can't. I mean, you're saying about the commitment, Ewok. I mean, I was pretty successful with the pad on Forza, and I
I'd
practiced
say
and
so.
practiced. Even I
You're fast on
practiced even with the
Forza.
pad,
Oh,
but you can. So it's this is different because there's like it is more of a sim. So when you're on the wheel, the effects of the car, um, you have to, as well as just tune a car setup that's fast, it has to be drivable as well because you're actually inputting through a wheel and pedals, not just a stick that's simulating someone steering the wheel for you. Your control stick on a control pad can turn however many ton there is through your steering wheel. It doesn't matter. Where in reality, using a wheel, you've actually got to physically turn that wheel. You can't. It's more realistic. It's obvious, really, but it's more realistic. So when you're tuning racing with the wheel, the things that you're changing are real things that are making a real difference. Where do you know what I'm trying to
Yeah,
say?
yeah,
yeah.
I
I mean, a
get what
big
you're
thing I
saying.
noticed with wheel racing was you get a sweat on wheel racing. Um, you definitely get a sweat on. I finished some races, I'm like,
And not just from the
shit,
wheel, some of it comes from the leather of your seat.
yeah. So, you have a shower, you sit there and race, and you go, I need a fucking shower again. But I mean, the worst you get with pad racing is sweaty hands. That's it. But when you
Or
sat there full
cramping.
on pedals, wheel, gears, yeah, it's full on. It really is full on. Um,
I
you
feel
know,
we're getting a little bit off
sometimes I think,
topic here now. We're getting into whether you
okay,
should be in a wheel or a pad. So, but to get back to what we were
this
talking
is what
about,
happens.
um,
we go off somewhere.
just
The
just
eternal debate.
just to finish off the whole contact issue when it comes to racing, and where I want to leave it is when you're coming into the final lap of a race, and say you're the first two racers, okay, and you're racing hard on each other. Um, To me personally, now of course, I'm not good enough now anymore to be up there at the top. I was before, Junior and some of the other guys came to our league. But hard racing, and me and Coughlin were good for it. Hard racing to, defending, cutting off the corners, closing the doors, little taps here and there, or a little bit of contact. I find that to really add realism and immersion, and so just all out enjoyment when it comes to that going for the win. Now, Junior, you're there more times than the rest of us. What's your opinion?
On contact in the closing laps.
Yeah, I mean, and I'm not talking about running guys off. I mean, just like you were saying before, that side to side, knocking doors, trading paint, rubbing.
Yeah, I mean, it does add excitement. If you can get, if you're fast enough, if you're chasing a guy down and you're fast enough to get to where you're alongside and battle like that for the win of a race, it does make it more exciting. It does get your heart rate going. It
It pumps
does.
the blood.
Even sim racing, it does. It's no, for definite. It's to be honest, that'd be a sweet way for the race to end. You'd be happy. You would not be unhappy coming second if you've fought hammer and tongs with someone on the closing laps to win the race, and it's been that close.
Yeah. Yeah,
and Gruff Sky, you guys were close tonight, going for 10th.
He made a mistake on the last chicane before the right hand sweeper to the finish line. That's why I was able to catch up on him.
And there was probably side by side, a foot between you, go around that last corner.
Yeah, coming out of that corner, I closed the door on him.
Yeah.
Which is exactly what I did. It's like, I'm going to close the door here, and I took the chance because now we're talking about this whole contact issue, this being respectable, and all this other stuff. But I will say this when it comes to the contact and defending and all this other stuff. You cut across my nose, or you try and cut across my nose or my hood, I'm going to turn you, plain and simple. There's no ifs, ands, or buts. I'm not gonna sit there and drive off track. I'm not gonna sit there and try and avoid you. If you're gonna be somebody who wants to defend, and you want to, and I get my nose up into your, alongside your rear tire, and you decide, oh, I'm gonna try and close the door on them, and you want to come cutting across my nose, guess what? I'm gonna turn you, and I'm not gonna feel bad about it, and I'm not gonna stop. I'm just gonna watch you spin and go along my way.
That's cold. Like what we were saying before, isn't it?
Yeah.
That's like what we were saying before, though. When the line's crossed, you're talking about someone who's crossed the line, so you have to use your bumper.
Yeah. So it's just, and I'm not trying to say that's being disrespectful or whatever. It's like, you took a gamble on hoping maybe I'd be somebody who'd back off. Well, guess what? I didn't. So you lost. You lost the gamble, plain and simple.
It's another fine line between closing the door before they're on you, or taking that risk of thinking, right, they are probably too close, I'm going to close it anyway.
Mm-hmm.
And if you do take that chance and spin out, well, it's it's through no fault of your own. And you knew how close they were. It's a risk you shouldn't take.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, Gally, a question for you. What would you do if someone's going to slam the door on you, cut your nose up on lap 5 of a 30-lap race? Would you still leave your bumper in?
That would be a judgment call as to whether I'd be able to back off or not. I mean, if you're just going to blindside me and I have no clue that you're going to try and do that, and you just all of a sudden you come down into me, I mean, at that point, I've got to make that decision whether backing off is feasible because of what traffic I have behind me. If I've got nobody behind me, well then maybe I can ease off and hopefully not spin you. But we're coming to the closing laps of a race. I'm not going to worry about that stuff. I'm just going to spin you.
Yeah, I mean, project cars, we pick up damage and it slows you down. So if it was me and if somebody was driving overly aggressive, this comes back to what I was saying before. If someone's driving overly aggressive on the early laps, it's going to take a lot for me to want to use my bumper because I don't want to inflict damage. And if there's plenty of racing left, I don't want to be carrying damage for the rest of the race.
Right, and then of course you gotta remember whether you have a chance or an opportunity to make that decision. Sometimes they make that decision for you.
I mean, when you look at some of the Forza highlights and replays and stuff, I think there tends to be a lot more of it going on in Forza races than you do in the Project Cars races. I think sometimes the Project Cars races can get a little bit spread out. When you look at some of the Forza highlights, they tend to be sort of bunched up a little bit more, just the design of the tracks and the way the game runs. So I think, when I raced Forza, I used to find the tracks a lot busier. So there was a lot more attacking and defending and, sort of bumping and stuff.
Well, we also
sort of
split people up into categories too when it came to Forza. At that point, you basically weren't on track with people that were generally very much more faster than you.
Well, Junior was one of the fast ones when I was on Forza, and I can remember his first race in Project Cars, and I can remember what we thought was going to happen, and it didn't. So maybe you don't. Right, we're going to go off here on a little thing, right? When you announced you come to Project Cars, Junior, right? Me and Gally were talking, and do you remember me telling you asked what car we were using, and I said use BMW. I got told off, right? Guy's like, "What you tell me what car you use for?" I was like, "Oh, why not? What does it matter?" I says, "Don't worry." I says, "He won't be fast. He's not played Project Cars before." And that was on the ring, wasn't it? On the Northlife, and you won it the first race.
Heck of a way to start.
Yeah, that was the Group 5 Cup.
And you left the party, and me and Gally were like, "Shit." This is fun. And Gally was like, "This is bullshit." he's fast on Forza. He's around Project Cars. And he's won the fucking first race. So I wasn't sure if you'd been aware of that. So we hoped you'd fail and you just excelled in race one, and you haven't looked back. Quite crazy.
I wasn't aware of that. No. So much hate.
All right, I want to get into one more topic before we end the discussion tonight, and it's a topic that's been plaguing us lately, and it's caused some tension. It's caused people to quit, and that is basically, how do I want to phrase it? Chit chat, excessive talking,
noise management.
Yeah, noise management. But basically, I mean, what is so wrong? I mean, I can understand that there's people, they come in and race. That's what they want to do. They want to be into the race. They want to concentrate on the race, and people talking in their ear can distract them and throw them off their game. And then you have those who like to come in and they're just there for the good time. They're not taking it overly serious. It's just a video game and so forth. So they're there to hang out with some friends and chit chat and have some racing. And sometimes that does not mix very well. What is your opinion when it comes to excessive chit chat or talking or so forth when it comes to parties in a game?
I mean, I would say that if you're on Project Cars and you've got a wheel set up, you're taking it pretty seriously. To have spent that money on a racing wheel, a racing chair, you're not playing around. You want to go there and simulate racing. And the league that we have on GLC is like, we have this track this weekend. So, me personally, I put some time into practice. I know others do too. Try and find time. We know when we come to the race what lap times we should be able to do. And it can be frustrating if people are talking about what they're having for their tea or whatever they've been doing the night before. When you're trying to keep up with a guy like Suomi, whose name is on top of all the leaderboards, you want to push, you want to get the most out of your car, you want to nail the lap times that you're capable of doing. So yeah, my opinion is when it's a race event like what is held on GLC, we need to really be respectful of the race that's going on. That's my opinion there. I mean, there are other times when people go online together and have a race, and they can have the chit chat and whatever else. But when it comes to the league racing time, my opinion is concentrate on the racing.
Superior.
I think, Kelly, I think you nailed it. Just saying that there are at least two different kinds of groups of people here, and you've got people who are, like Junior's talking about, maybe a little more serious about the racing proper, and people who are maybe more there for the social aspect or just to catch up with their friends. And the thing is, you can even, the same person can be in both those groups at different times. Sometimes I come to Xbox and I just want to relax. I just want to shoot the breeze with everybody. And then sometimes I'm locked in a, lap after lap battle with somebody, and everyone needs to shut the hell up because I'm trying to nail this corner,
That's changed, isn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. So,
I think he's officially finished puberty.
But it's funny because
He's a man.
I remember when this would have been like what, season 2 maybe, when we had first had the different groups of like intermediate clan racers, these kinds of things. And I remember some of us were in clan and we tended to maybe chat a little more, and there were one or two times when the intermediate racers joined us and were just really upset that we were chatting.
It was Gally.
Was it Guy?
I remember
a couple
Gally.
of people there.
It was.
And
It was
but see, the funny thing about it was, they later on, maybe there was some good-natured ribbing among the clan members of the intermediate members about this proclivity for silence. But as time went on and the clan members became better racers, it naturally, like all of a sudden, we looked around and realized the clan lobby was completely silent because we were all concentrating on these races. And now maybe some of us are would like quiet sometimes when we're trying to race, and you have to strike that balance because we all do have to coexist when we're there, even if we're there for different reasons. So there's if you want quiet, you have to recognize some people are going to chat a little, but if you're wanting to chat, you do have to realize that some people are taking it more seriously than you are, and that's not a reason to mock them or just ignore them, but give them what they want when they come there too.
Exactly.
There's different levels of socializing, isn't there?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
If you're in a lobby racing, then you're there to race. I don't expect people to be watching football, talking to their mates about football when I'm trying to put a lap time in. For me, personally, I find it quite distracting. Fridays are a social thing, but when there's points at stake, for me, that says, right, this is serious. There's points at stake. People are putting practice in. Chat as much as you want in lobby, as much as you want in a warm up. But when it comes to qualifying in the race, and I do believe it's race head on, and some chit chat is acceptable. But if you're gonna have a full blown conversation about what colour your nan's knickers are, then it's a no go. People are it's the same token as when people finish. Some people do it and they need a gentle reminder. They think, well, that's their race finished, and they start talking about times. There's still people racing, and it is just a gentle reminder sometimes. Some people take it better than others, but that's to be expected. Everyone's an individual.
Needs to be made clear, like, the league racing, is it a serious league race? I mean, there's websites that have it in big bold letters at the top of, it's a serious event. We asked for,
mic etiquette.
Respectful, mic etiquette, I mean, GLC is a gaming social website first. So it's not actually specified on there, but and the thing is with Project Cars as well this year, we've got so many guys racing and so many levels of ability. You do get the guys at the front who don't say a word, and then you get the guys at the back who will be talking about less, because they're there to have more of the social side. So I suppose at the moment what we have in this league that we're running is a wide variety of people and what they expect from the night.
Yeah, but I'll be honest with you. The past few nights of leagues between Nordschleife, tonight and last week at Bathurst, I think we've had some pretty awesome nights, and I think it's probably the best three
Agreed.
nights we've had in the entire league this season.
Yeah, I've thoroughly enjoyed it.
That's because it hasn't been totally silent. There's been a little bit of chat, but it's not been
You're right.
overly
And
chatty.
I think
Yeah.
a lot of people will talk to me about stuff, and I'll be like, huh? I don't know what they're talking about, because I'm very, very, very good at just blocking out what I don't want to listen to. If I choose not to hear it, I'm not going to hear it. I can zone in on my game and just totally not hear all the bullshit that's going on. Sometimes I can't, but for the most part, I'm very good at it. So in the whole aspect of being silent or being quieter in a lobby doesn't really affect me. But as somebody who runs a league, who has been involved with the whole administrative aspect of running these leagues, whether it been in Forza or in Project Cars, I completely agree with the fact of racers who want to come in there. They want to take it seriously. And I don't feel that an hour out of your time is that much of to ask to not horse around and not sit there and shoot the shit. Plain and simple.
Yeah.
You have the rest of the week for that. You have the warm-up lobbies, which are an hour before we start racing, to do that. You have lots of other chances to do it. The hour and a half that we're there to do our racing for the league, for the points, I don't find that too unreasonable to ask for a little bit of mic etiquette and respect.
Yeah, and to be fair, guy, like you said, that is a good way of doing it, because you can't expect silence in a lobby, because at the end of the day, for example, today the middle of the field were all close together, and they were all side by side regularly, so they're going to be speaking up. I'm on your left, I'm on your left. It's absolutely nothing to do with me, but there is noise in the party, so you do have to be able to shut it out, as you said. So yeah.
I mean, the diversity of our members in the GLC, this is always going to be not an issue, but it's always going to be a talking point, because you've got people who may be in several different leagues, and say the 4 leagues they're in, 3 of them are quite chatty. So it becomes a natural or a routine for them, just to chit chat while they're racing. Some people find it helps them sort of relax if they're chatting during the race. I don't. I like to keep quiet. Because we've got people from all different walks of life, all different backgrounds. I think it's always going to be something that's spoken about, or something we've had to deal. We're going to have to deal with. It's how it's dealt with. Lets us move forward in a constructive manner.
Yeah. Yeah. Like I said, I don't find it unreasonable, and but as Ewok said, unless we choose, or even Junior actually said it, unless we start forming our leagues with the expressed intent that this is the way it is, and we actually only recruit these type of people, which is a possibility. You never know. I mean, I'd like to still be able to recruit more people to get more than one lobby running for situations, for our leagues and so forth. But unless we really do that, it's something that we're always going to run into. And I don't think it's something you can avoid unless you be one of those specific. You set it as a rule, shall we say, when it comes to the league. So
Not too
I
much.
think the issue would be more what people are talking about rather than if people are talking. If people are talking
That
and it
too,
is
yeah.
relating to the race, you can't say shh, But
So somebody does. I say that exact
I
phrase.
mean, I completely agree with, and I don't defend the people that have, other gamers or other people sitting in their not their lobby, but their living rooms or so forth, that are, you're sitting here in a game, in a race, trying to game with a bunch of people in a party chat, but you've got all this noise of all these other people making all this noise, in the same room that you're trying to game. I find that disrespectful to other gamers. When you're sitting there and having an argument with your significant other, during an event or something, I think that's disrespectful. And not to say that you shouldn't do that or whatnot, but if that's going to happen and you need to speak to somebody else in your vicinity while you're gaming, you need to learn where your mute button is and you need to learn to use it.
I was just going to say that.
Yeah.
I think it goes without saying, doesn't it? I mean, oh,
If I didn't
Who
know
was
where
in
my
the
mute button is,
party?
you'd hear me shouting at my cats all the time.
Who was in the party when Vernon was in the party? And he was talking about how he'd been he'd had the shits for the past 6 days.
I see. Now
Oh,
that's
you know what? That
ridiculous.
sounds familiar.
Was that on a Friday?
It probably had to be a
was
Friday
I think
project.
it might have been. Yes, I did.
Midnight
Because he
Project,
meant to mute
and
his mic, as
yeah,
I recall.
perfect example of a
He
mic
did
not being
realize
muted,
it was
and he was
unmuted.
talking
But you see,
to, I think,
but
his daughter about having the shits for 6 days.
using
It's
Friday
like,
Project
some
is the
people
perfect
don't need that.
example of when you can be more social when you're in there racing, because that's what it's meant to be.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, but TMI is TMI.
Oh, you're
Yeah,
right.
but then
TMI
again,
is still TMI.
there's certain things you want to hear when they get into the mic's telling his daughter, and there was quite a bit of detail actually how he'd had the shits for 6 days, and it's like, oh, we really don't need to
Yeah,
be in
okay.
that.
We don't need to get into that in this.
To be fair, he apologized when he got
Oh, it
back
was
because
funny.
he thought his
It
mic
was
was
so
muted.
funny.
Well, we've had lots of guys sit there and come back with stuff going, oh, you mean you guys heard all that? But
Yeah.
regardless so those are our topics that we wanted to cover tonight. I really appreciate Junior and Superior Rain joining us tonight for that. Before we close out, Junior, is there any new games on the horizon that you're looking forward to coming out?
Only the obvious one, Project Cars 2.
Hey, racer through and through.
Yeah, that's all my Xbox is for.
Is it? Do you not play anything else?
No. Well, he
No.
tries to play Madden.
Yeah, you're
Oh,
right.
yeah.
Try.
I saw some of the replays. Yeah.
How about you, Superior? Anything you're looking forward to, or are you just racing now
That's
too?
a good question. I think I don't know about anything coming up. I've been playing a lot of Batman recently, the Return to Arkham games.
Awesome games.
That's what I've been doing those are fantastic games, and it's a decent collection.
Yes.
So that's what I've been doing when I'm not.
I'm really
when I'm
sad
not
that they left
practicing.
the Origins game out of that collection.
Yeah, I think Rocksteady has kind of had a policy of pretending that game doesn't exist.
And it was such a
especially
good
ever
game. I
since
don't care what
Arkham
anybody
Knight came out.
says.
I never got to play it. I'd like to try that.
Yeah, it was good.
I'm kind of using this to catch up.
Yeah. Yeah, but now being around all of us at some point here and there, you of course have seen what is coming up with Project Cars 2, correct?
Yeah, I've seen some of the trailers and such, the new weather and some of the new vehicles, this kind of thing.
Superior Rain making an appearance when Project Cars 2 pops onto the scene a possibility?
I certainly figure, since I assume everybody will be migrating over to that. I'll
I
probably
don't
follow the
know.
crowd at that
We
point.
still got to wait to see what Forza
Superior
7 is going to
Forza.
bring us.
Well, I don't know if I'll
Yeah.
move over to the league, but like if Friday Project starts moving over to P-Cars 2 or something,
It will be.
I'm in kind of yeah. See, I'm kind of in an awkward position because I'm just thinking, gee, maybe I need to put more time into Project Cars so I can learn to drive that just a little better. But then with P-Cars 2 coming right up, I'm thinking maybe I should wait. Because who knows how the handling is going to change and the settings and everything.
I don't know.
I don't want to get comfortable in the original one just in time to have to redo it all for P-Cars 2.
I think Junior put it the best when he made the move from Forza to Project Cars, and he specifically did it because he had a wheel. But when he came over with his wheel and he started racing that game, his major applause that he gave the game was the fact that you could manhandle the car.
There you go. But see, that's the thing is I'm not real good at doing that kind of thing on Project Cars yet. It's a much more
It's
sensitive.
because you keep playing Forza.
Right. Well, there you go. Actually, I keep playing F1. I guess would be the concern.
We need to teach Kev how to manhandle. Okay.
Actually, what I heard for Forza 7 is they've actually hired somebody specifically to finally get some actual development for steering wheels into the Forza
That's what
series.
I heard. Yeah.
Because
If that is true, that goes on the list of things I'm looking forward to.
yeah, it would be because right now, to honest with you, steering wheel on Forza, while it makes the game better, it's still not as good as it should be.
I'm not sure that, to be honest with you, I actually still use the gamepad when I do the Forza leagues. It's the wheel for Project Cars and F1. I could not get the wheel to be comfortable on Forza.
Exactly.
It doesn't. It's stupid.
Yeah.
It's real weird. But yeah, if they were
from Junior.
if they're really getting somebody, there were some. I feel like there was a rumor that it was going to be Kunos, the guys who do Assetto Corsa, but I think that might have fallen through, which would be a shame because a game with Forza's depth of content and Assetto Corsa's fantastic force feedback stuff.
Actually, from what I heard was it was a former Thrustmaster employee.
That would be interesting too. Because I do like Forza a lot for a lot of reasons, but the playing with the wheel is not one of them, unfortunately.
See, unfortunately, while I could manage with the wheel, the tire model just finally drove me insane. I mean, there's no reason my car should be squealing and sliding off track at 30 miles an hour.
Right, but see, that was exactly why I haven't been playing with the wheel, because I don't know how it was for you, but for my wheel, it's extremely heavy in the center, and then after you've turned it a few degrees, all of a sudden it goes completely light, and it's just smoke and screech from hell to breakfast.
Yeah.
So I just couldn't do that.
Yeah. So.
It's like with Forza, it's like it doesn't. The inputs you give it through the wheel aren't worth anything. It's like you enter a turn, you turn the wheel this many degrees, any more or any less, and you're buggered. It's.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's just
it comes out of the basic settings.
And that's not to say that Forza is a bad game. The Forza is just not developed with a wheel. It is a gamepad racing game. It doesn't have the development when it comes to wheels, which is the exact opposite of a sim racer. When you talk about Assetto Corsa or Project Cars, or when you talk about other games on PC, which now because Forza is going to PC now. I think that's why they're going to concentrate on it, because they realize they have no real steering wheel support for the game.
Yeah.
So, I mean, and if you want to survive on PC, you need to have steering wheel support.
I mean, for a game this late in its franchise, you can buy racing setups with Forza stitched into it and stuff. Or sorry, get the setup, but can I get a wheel that actually works with the game? So I think it's long overdue. To be honest.
Yeah. So.
Yeah,
well. Well, it's like I said. It's been awesome chatting with everybody. I really appreciate you joining us for the discussion. I hopefully anybody who listens to this podcast gets something from it because these are really the hot topics lately these days within GLC. Whether they're in somebody else's, I don't know. But it's just something that I felt we really should cover and talk about because they needed to be addressed. And like I said, hopefully somebody got something from it and they'll think twice about wanting to be that overly aggressive driver when it comes to making contact or defending, and maybe even a little bit more mic etiquette conscious. So I am Gallifrey Madman for Dirty Ewok 75, XR Junior JH, and Superior Rain. I thank you for joining us this evening. Have a good night.
Take it easy.
Good night.
Good night.
So long, sucker!